Why we're seeing a recovery in the share price, the optimism for the second quarter, Lucas. I'm looking at my Bloomberg. I've dug into a great chart, BTV 83, if the terminal users want to get into it. We do see share volatility on the day of earnings when we see, well, the day after we see them drop. So perhaps no surprise if we see some swings in the share price. But what's the most important headline from your perspective?
Probably that they're going to continue the growth going into the second quarter. If you're an investor, you look and you see the initial performance in the first quarter, you get a little bit nervous. They miss. Every Netflix miss, even when it's slight, tends to get treated like it's a huge deal. That would typically send the stock going down, and that's probably why for the first 45 minutes, first hour it was. And it's recovered probably because people thought about it a little bit more. And realized that the thesis is pretty much unchanged. In quarter two, you're going to see better growth than they've had historically. One other theory that had been tossed out was that some of the people who maybe shorted it going in tried to cover it later in trading. But it's really, as you say, a mixed bag for Netflix's quarter. You often come out of a Netflix earnings report with a very clear message of, oh, this was a really good quarter for the company, really bad quarter. For the past couple of years, it's been mostly good. And this one is more mixed.
More mixed, but still the spending still comes in. We've seen, what, $1 billion to be splashed on marketing, let alone the $6 billion that is being spent on making their own content. Talk to us about some of the scoops that you've had in the new ways that they're providing perhaps feature films rather than just programming. Does this future look bright in terms of the way that they're using their cash?
Yeah, well, Netflix said in this release that they hired this guy, Scott Stuber, to oversee their film division. Netflix has made a handful of original movies over the past couple of years. They actually admitted in the release today that one of them, this sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a movie that you may remember from several years ago, did not do particularly well. Netflix doesn't customarily call out any individual program as not doing well, but they did here because their feature film initiative has been a little all over the place. And so they brought in this guy, Scott Stuber, who's made a bunch of movies like Ted, to try and bring some order to that. Netflix will release 3 of its biggest movies ever in this next quarter. They're going to have War Machine starring Brad Pitt, Okja, which has Jake Gyllenhaal and Tilda Swinton, and then another Adam Sandler movie. And much as people like to tease Netflix for its love of Adam Sandler, they say those movies are working because they're making 4 more on top of the first 4 that they ordered. So Netflix has a lot of new movies coming, and as you noted, they're spending a lot of money to support it. There's just so much TV being made now that Netflix realizes it's got to try and spend some money to keep bringing people in, because when it doesn't have a big hit in a quarter, they don't grow as much.